Salutations, friends. Welcome back to my channel. Two things. One, we're talking about white tea today. Two, I've literally filmed this video 3 times, so I sound a little redundant or tired. It's because I feel like I go into these crazy long, rambling, uneditable diatribes, and I just really want to talk to you guys about tea. Now, white tea is a neglected, just poorly represented member of the tea family in perfumery. And I'm going to talk to you guys about why I think it's so neglected and why I understand why it's so neglected. So let's get into the video. Hi, I'm Kristin. I love tea. I have a bit of an education training on tea, no education or training on fragrance aside from whatever I do in my spare time to research. I am not a trained professional. I've not been given any extensive training in regards to, on the job training or going to a special school. I am a novice, somebody with no authority or special training in perfume, but I do have very real opinions and I do really love scent and perfumery. YouTube is my hobby. It is a way for me to connect with other fragrance enthusiasts. Now, for the longest time, I feel like years, I've been talking about tea videos. I do love tea scents. It is my favorite way to smell, probably one of my most favorite ways to smell. My signature scent is Bulgari Eau de Verte. And I've wanted to bring you guys this long, inclusive tea video for years. But I've decided that before I do that, I need to sit down and talk to you guys about each tea. So I've already done green tea. I will link that video below. I will be referencing that video a few times in this video. This is white tea. Now, to kind of sum up white tea real quick for people that maybe don't know, is when you have a tea bush, that bush can make any tea. It's just how that tea is processed. So generally, if you pick a leaf and just kind of dry it, that's a white tea. It is the, and I'm going to mention this right now, the least caffeinated, least energizing, and also the one with the most delicate, subtle flavor. The flavor is very, very, very mild. I would describe it as if you are a water drinker and you can tell the distinctive difference of a different county's water. Like if you live someplace and you go over to your friend's house and you don't like the taste of their tap water because it's just something that's a little off about it. The subtlety of taste of water. Very, very mild. Green teas, when you start going into the process of teas, you start to pick up the different nuances on how the tea is processed, if it's shaded, if it's roasted, different altitudes and different areas where it's grown, and then obviously you have oolong teas and black teas. But white teas are very, 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 very subtle. So in capturing that subtle flavor in scent, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's difficult, but also the subtle flavor is very bland and very kind of stale tasting if you're unfamiliar with the delicate flavor of white tea. And a lot of people aren't really super accustomed to that. When people drink white tea, if they drink tea bags or tea in bottles, normally it's, might have a little bit of added flavor, like maybe there's some floral aspects to it, some dried fruits, some dried citruses, and those are all delicious. But we're talking about just the straight leaf, the straight needle, the silver needle, or things like that. Specifically, what I've noticed in perfumery, since there is a subtleness of flavor, and the flavor in and of itself is so mild, when noses or houses or fragrances come out when they are white tea inspired or have a white tea note, those tea notes generally just kind of smell like a lighter, fresher version of green tea. And there's nothing wrong with that because I don't think many people want to smell like white tea, to be completely honest. Like, it's not the most appealing smell. It doesn't smell bad, but it doesn't really smell like something that, is energizing and revitalizing and fresh and bright. It just kind of smells like water. So I can understand wanting to have a creative interpretation when it comes down to creating a scent. And I just think that there's a price point for that. So for me, when I did the green tea video, I had a lot of different examples of fragrances, mostly because I truly believe this, that if I'm going to spend the money on a perfume that has a great tea note, I do want some nuances to it. If I'm going to spend a lot of money, if I'm not going to spend a lot of money, it at least needs to smell nice. Now, since there's not too many nuances in white tea that I've really experienced, and I haven't smelled everything, so please, if you have any great examples, let me know below. I find that the more affordable white tea options are better than the more expensive, minus like one example. Now, these two are on the more affordable side. The first one is Blanc. This is from Solo Notes. And this is white tea from Elizabeth Arden. There are obviously flankers to this, but I just wanted to include the original. Now this one is going to be on the fresher and more citrusy, brighter side. This one has more slightly floral, sweeter elements to it. But both of these, in my opinion, just smell like lighter, fresher versions of a green tea fragrance, which is not bad, but for the price, I find that these work very well. So I don't feel bad saying that these don't really celebrate white tea in the way that I would want, but from what I see when people make a white tea fragrance, it's kind of this style, but why spend like $150, $200, $300 on a bottle of perfume when you could easily spend like $20 to $50 and smell really, really good? So I would recommend these if you are looking for a lighter, fresher, more energizing version of white tea. And I don't know why they, like, I guess maybe I'm just like harping on the caffeine aspect of it, because white tea in no way is energizing. The flavor of white tea doesn't taste energizing. Green tea, yes. Citrusy and bright, it's green, it's beautiful. I mean, some of them that are more shaded almost are more savory with umami and sweet. White tea, no. So there's no caffeine. The flavor of it doesn't taste I don't know why they say it's an energizing note. I think I'm just harping on it. I don't know. I'm just putting my head in the sand. But if you're looking for a lighter, fresher version of a green tea note and you associate that with white tea, these are fantastic. These work really well, and I don't think that they are overpriced. This is a little bit more easy to wear, a little bit lighter, fresher. This one, again, smells a little bit sweeter, but I do really like this one a lot. And again, affordable. I mean, this one I think full retail price is like $50, $60, but gray market you can find it for a steal. Full retail price, this is $20, so I would recommend these over the more expensive options, except for one specific one. If I were to close my eyes and think of one of the best green tea fragrances out there, it's actually a white tea fragrance, and it's Bamboo Harmony from Vichillion. Now, Vichillion has done amazing things with tea. Imperial tea is just fantastic. Bamboo Harmony is supposed to focus on an energizing, beautiful, bright white tea. And it is a beautiful scent. This is one of my most worn. I mean, you guys can see it gets used. It gets worn. It's so good. And there's something bright and happy about this, but there's like a soft sensuality underneath this too. And that slight softness is what kind of makes this more forgivable, because that softness, and when we get into Silver Needle, to me is what saves this as being just some lame attempt at a whiter, brighter, fresher version of green tea. And Vichillion is expensive, but the reason why this is in here is green tea, white tea, black tea, whichever tea. This is just a fantastic tea fragrance, one of my favorites, and one of my most worn scents. So I kind of had to include it in this video. It would have been part of my green tea video if it was green tea, but it's white tea, so here it is. Ask yourself, Kristin, is there any way that you're going to be happy? And I'm going to say probably not, but yes. So when I think about how I would want a successful white tea to be done, it's hard because different parts of the world, different parts of the leaf, it's hard to really kind of accentuate that into a perfume. Green tea is easy because a lot of people are very familiar with how it tastes, how it smells, so it really translates beautifully to perfume. And it also is just a very strong note, accord, style, composition that works very well as something front and center or something in the background. However, when I think about white tea in perfumery, people focus on Silver Needle. Now, Silver Needle for the average tea consumer is like the gold standard for white tea. It is like generally what people think is like the highest level of quality when it comes down to white tea. And it just depends. It's really, really good. But it also depends on where you get it, the different farm. There's different qualities across the board. So I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to talk about farms. I'm not going to talk about altitudes or anything like that, because that's not what this video is about. But to just kind of say, to kind of, easily describe it, silver needle is kind of like the tea buds. And they're generally covered in a soft, fluffy little blanket of like fluff. And that's why they're called silver needles, because those little fluffy things are white. And when I do my tea video, I'm actually going to be showing you the teas and talking about the process and how the process affects the flavor, and how perfumers and noses and houses take those flavors and translate them beautifully and successfully to scents. Now, if you're trying to taste silver needle, those little fluffy things kind of tickle the back of your throat, and they add a stale bitterness. But that stale bitterness, in my opinion, isn't like the bitterness of like an overbrewed cup of tea. Like if you leave a tea bag in, or if you leave green tea leaves in too long, or your water's too hot, it's undrinkable. That bitterness is more of a flavor profile. So it is something that you want. It's something that you like. It's something that you enjoy. It's kind of like arugula. Some of these more peppery, bitter lettuces that you might add to your salad because you like that little bit of a bite. That is what silver needle is when it comes down to the type of bitter flavor. It's a little tiny bit of a kick, a little bit of a bite, a little bit of an added nuance to a very delicate flavor profile. And I enjoy it very much. I also like to eat the leaves after I'm done brewing a cup. They're actually fantastic. I like to eat them a lot. Anyway. A way to successfully kind of translate the experience of white tea into perfumery that I found is looking at the kind of transportive interpretation of tea. And a brand that did that is Perfumology with Sudute. Now, this doesn't smell like a distinctive tea fragrance like Bamboo Harmony, like Thé Blanc, like white tea from Elizabeth Arden, like a variety of other tea fragrances. This smells, there's fruitiness, there's woods, there's florals, and there's a beautiful tea note in here. And the tea note is celebrating white tea. And what I like about it is this takes you to an area where you're smelling the leaves on the bush, and you're kind of picking up the nuances of the silver needle. And I like that because I think that transportive, taking you to tea fields or tea farms, is such a smart way to translate white tea to scent. Because the white tea is the purest form of tea, because it is just picked and dried to make it quick and easy to describe. And like, it's so true to that. It's not like it tastes green. It's because it just tastes fresh. And that kind of smell in here with everything else comes across so perfectly in this fragrance. And I was really impressed. Now, I did an entire review of this fragrance, so I'm not going to talk too long. I don't want this video to be too crazy long. So I find this to be, in my opinion, at least in my collection, I haven't tried every white tea inspired fragrance out there, every white tea note, every white tea scent. So please, if you have great examples of scents, let me know. I'm always looking for more. But when it comes down to the white tea experience as a white tea scent, not as a tea fragrance, as a white tea scent, I really enjoy the integrity that was put into this fragrance. And they did that by kind of removing the tea kind of composition and focusing more on the transportive qualities of taking you to an area where tea is grown, but still having tea-like notes in here and tea notes in here. Obviously, tea is in here to kind of celebrate it. And I think this was a very creative, smart way to do white tea. So I do love these 4 fragrances. They're great. And then I know I mentioned Silver Needle. I have tried Jo Malone's. I think that they discontinued their Rarity collection. I don't own any of those. I've considered tracking them down. Their Silver Needle was the one that I liked on the skin. It smelled really good, but it just smelled like another green tea fragrance. And it was Silver Needle. I wanted something a little bit more special, especially for that price point. And I was like, again, like if I'm going to spend that much money on a white tea fragrance, I'd rather spend that much money on a very distinctive, special green tea or black tea scent personally. End of the day, I do find to be the white tea note, the white tea kind of creative prompt to be a very challenging kind of idea. Because if you taste just a cup of white tea, like white tea leaves, not like something that has added florals or fruits or citruses in it, you definitely can kind of taste it and think, how the heck am I going to make this smell like an enjoyable, attractive, pretty perfume? And I can understand where it would be better in the background to add some brightness, maybe some softness and some grounding and some rounding to compositions. But when it's front and center, I can see where it could be a challenge to really kind of do a good job without smelling like the lighter, fresher version of green tea. And I don't know, I think I've talked way too long about this. I'm trying not to make this video too crazy long. So I have a lot of hope for white tea, and what I want to see houses do, what I want to see perfumers do and noses do is to take this like head on. Don't be afraid. With white tea specifically, you have to take risks. This is a risky note. This is a risky composition. If you don't want it to be risky, do green tea because it's fabulous. People love it. It sells itself. It's fantastic. But if you want to do something slightly riskier, like do white tea, but like do it correctly. And you don't have to do it smell for smell. You don't want to, and I don't think anybody wants you to, do a photorealistic white tea fragrance, to be perfectly honest. Unless you're doing maybe like a bright citrus or like a floral infused white tea could be really nice. But for the most part, if you're doing kind of an interpretation of a white tea, you can do this kind of beautiful idea of something ozonic and minerally and soft and bitter in a way that's unique and different and special. I think an ozonic fragrance would lend itself better to a white tea composition than something citrusy and bright, perfectly honest. I think that Sacred Water from The Harmonist that has absolutely nothing to do with white tea is a more successful white tea fragrance than Bamboo Harmony from Vichillion, which is a white tea fragrance. If you kind of want to know how I feel, how white tea fragrances should go, yeah, that's how I think. Sun, light blue, sun, home for men. That would be a great citrusy white tea dominant scent. There we go. There, you want some citruses in there. Fantastic. I mean, those ozonic notes, ozonic minerally compositions would mimic the kind of delicate, unique nuances of Silver Needle much better than bright citruses and green notes, personally. That's what I want to see perfumers do. I want to see them take risks with this note. Do it in a way that is different and unique and special, because you can do it. I know you can. That's what I want. I want less safe white tea fragrances and more special. And if you want to do it, that's a transportive kind of interpretation. Sudute is excellent. But at the end of the day, white tea is kind of hard to wrap my head around in regards to perfumery because it is such a nuanced, delicate flavor. And it does have its very specific place within tea in regards to health and caffeine and how it's produced. And it's very special and it's very beautiful and it's very delicate. And I feel like it needs to stop being in green tea's shadow and it needs to stand on its own. And that's within drinking, and that's also within perfumery. And that's what I want to see. So that is my white tea video. This is definitely, again, like I filmed this video so long, so we're just gonna end the video here. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to know what you guys think about white tea and perfumery. Do you agree or disagree? Please let me know in the comment section below. I would also love to have any recommendations. Do you have a favorite white tea fragrance? Let me know below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.